Welcome everybody, and a look at the Chinese Ghost Story Trilogy box set from Imprint Films as part of their Imprint Asia line. So these are separate to the standard Imprint collection, so that's why these are numbers 38, 39 and 40 in the Imprint Asia collection. And yeah, we're going to be unboxing this and reviewing each of the three films today. So yeah, we'll firstly talk about the films. So all three of these were directed by Siu-Tung, who also did the really rather excellent Duel to the Death, which was actually his debut film. And he also did the decent Dr. Wei in the Scripture with No Words, starring Jet Li. So these are mainly a mixture of martial arts, fantasy, and horror. And yeah, all the first two films star Leslie Chung, who was also in the Better Tomorrow films, first and second one. Wu Ma, who's also in the first two films, I've seen him in 29 other films. He was also excellent in Lights of Righting Wrongs and The Bells of Death. And you've also got Joey Wong Cho-Yin. She's in all three of these films, although as different characters. She was also great in the likes of An Eternal Combat and An Eye for an Eye. So yeah, the first film came out in 1987, clocks in at 95 minutes long. A naive young tax collector for the imperial government winds up spending the night in a haunted temple. There he falls in love with a beautiful woman who unfortunately is dead. With the aid of a powerful Daoist swordsman, he must defeat undead hordes, overcome a sinister tree demoness, and descend to the pits of hell to fight for the spirit he loves. So this is far from the first time I've seen one of these Hong Kong horror films that have numerous other genres working in tandem. You know, you look at there's been the Mr. Vampire series, obviously, which Eureka released a while back. For instance, that's kind of a mix of these kind of elements. So, yeah, and although it is hardly doing much new compared to those other efforts, it still makes for an entertaining and engaging effort throughout. This is due to its mix of horror, martial arts, which obviously talked about, but there's also fantasy, comedy, and romance in here as well, which all surprisingly work well together. While the cast is good and it is well paced, the practical effects are also great, especially since there's a giant tongue that is in this from the tree demoness, which wraps around buildings and people and such. And yeah, it's really well done. And in certain circumstances, it looks like what we had with Tremors a few years later with underground stuff with the boards moving and such. So yeah, it's all really well done in that regard. The action scenes are fun, the cinematography is on point, and the score is solid as well. So that gets a comfortable 4 out of 5. Then the second film, A Chinese Ghost Story 2, came in 1990. That clocks in at 102 minutes long, and although it is slightly longer than the other film, there is a few minutes of credits and a recap of the first film's events, so it works out about the same. And additional to the first three people that I mentioned before, we also have Jackie Chung Hok-Yau, who was also in Tiger Cage, which is an excellent action film if you've not seen that one. So after escaping false imprisonment, Ling Choi-san, who was played by Leslie Chung, crosses paths with a pair of rebellious women. Though mourning the loss of his ghostly love, his broken heart must heal in a hurry in order to face a series of new paranormal encounters and adventures. So although I didn't find this to be quite as strong in terms of its characters or the basic plot as its predecessor, this is definitely superior in every other way. This is due to this being funnier, featuring better action, and the spectacle is truly amazing, especially during the final act where our characters ride around on and fight against a giant centipede. When they're riding on it, I couldn't help but think of the sandworms in Dune, for instance. So, yeah, it really did evoke that, quite frankly. The cast is also once again good. It is well paced. The practical effects are great. It is engaging and entertaining in equal measure. It is well shot, and the score is solidly done again. Um, I think the same composers for the score was consistent throughout all three of these, so that's why they're comfortably being really well done throughout. And yeah, that again gets a 4 out of 5. And finally, A Chinese Ghost Story 3 from 1991. Got in at 109 minutes long, so the longest of the three, but again, there is a fair hefty amount of credits and recap of the previous films. And in this one, we have new cast leads. So we have Tony Leung in the lead role. Most modern audiences will probably remember him from the likes of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, but it was also great in the likes of Hard Boiled and Lost Caution. Now, those are two films that we will be talking about in the future, because Lost Caution also got a release alongside this trilogy from Imprint Films, and Hardboiled is obviously getting a 4K release in the future from Arrow Video. So we'll talk more about him in the future. And also stars Lao Shan, who was also in the likes of Tai Chi Master, which is another fantastic action film with Jet Li, and Once Upon a Time in China 3 as well. So 100 years after the events of the first film, Buddhist Bai Yun and his disciple Fong journey through a small town to transport a golden idol of Buddha. However, local thieves thwart their journey, forcing them to take shelter at the ghostly Orchid Temple. So, this final film in the trilogy is unfortunately the weakest of the three, which is primarily down to two reasons. Firstly, the new characters aren't quite as enjoyable as those that led the prior two films. And secondly, this retreads a lot of familiar ground that's present in the first effort. So, the Orchid Temple is the setting for the first film. The tree demon that was in the first film also makes a return. It's even played by the same person, and obviously our lead falls in love with a ghost as well. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it treads a lot of ground really, because the rest of this is really rather quite good. As the cast is still good enough, and there is plenty of spectacle that I've become accustomed to when it comes to these films. For instance, the final act has a building that comes to life, starts walking around. You've got a couple of giant monsters as well in this that are really well done. So yeah, as far as the production value goes, it is really rather excellent, especially in terms of the practical effects. It's just a shame that the plot and the characters aren't quite enough to sustain its running time enough to make those elements even better. But that said, it is well paced, generally engaging. The violence is well executed, especially at the beginning when we meet a swordsman who, in the space of less than 7 minutes, you've got several arm decapitations and a head being lopped off. And there are a few laughs as well. But yeah, it's the weakest of the three and therefore gets 3.5 out of 5. But still, overall, this is a really, really good trilogy. Really fun. Plenty of action, plenty of spectacle, really good violence and practical effects and the like. And yeah, this is actually the first Steelbook I've had in quite some time that actually comes in a hard box. I think this is actually the first one I've ever gotten from Imprint, who have done this kind of thing in the past, but still, it is nice to see. So yeah, there's the hard box itself, and the reverse, and then we've got the really nice Steelbook as well. I like the shiny gold elements, and then we've got the reverse as well. We also get a hardback book with this release as well. And inside, you get shots from the film as well as write-ups including a Chinese ghost story trilogy, Ni Zhao Qin and Pu Songling's Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio by David Chu. So that is Leslie, is it Leslie Chung, sorry. These are the first two films. Wonder if it has any of the so yeah, it writes up about each individual film in that one, and they are all separated into their own aspects. So that's the tree demoness. Yes, it is played by a guy. That is kind of typical for like these kind of Chinese, Hong Kong kind of elements. You know, it's you could look at the kind of operas that they did. That were often played all by men, regardless of role, because women weren't allowed to play in them. So that kind of relates to that. Then you've also got a Chinese ghost story trilogy from Ghost Brides to Political Allegories by Sam Dayan. So one of the monsters in the background there. I really do like the look of the practical effects and such, and the lighting on these is also really, really good as well. It really does evoke the spookiness that is trying to be conveyed. And that, I believe, is our lead in the third film. Being a Buddhist, he obviously is bald. It's quite a hefty book, this one. There is a lot of shots from the film throughout, like I said. I'm just trying to not miss out on any of the the write-ups, because unfortunately Imprint don't really state what is in a book, like at the beginning, you know, like a contents, or in any other respect. It does seem like the reverse is just a bunch of shots from the film. Yeah. Is there any more monsters in here I can show you off? No. So yeah, we've got a varied amount of shots from the film, filmed in the reverse. So yeah, a lot of shots at the back there, but still, a couple of write-ups there are decent enough. And each of the films get a disc on their own, which again is nice to see. And different artwork for each. I'll just show you the third one. So yeah, that is nice to see. I wasn't expecting it, with it being a steelbook, to have each of the three films on their own disc, quite frankly. But yeah, we all three have extras as well, and all three have a 1080p high definition presentation of a 4K scan from the original camera negative, and they all look and sound really, really great. They also have different audio options as well, like LPCM 2.0 mono audio, plus there's DTS HD 7.1 surround and DTS HD 5.1 surround. There is an English dub for the first two films, I believe, but there isn't one for the third. But there is Cantonese and Mandarin regardless to choose from, with optional English subtitles. They're all in the 1:85:1 aspect ratio. And the first film has, in terms of extras, a Leslie Chung story, Hong Kong's eternal icon, feature-length documentary. Then you have Hong Kong Confidential Inside a Chinese Ghost Story with author Grady Hendrix. Then you have an archival interview with composer James Wong. Master of Illusion archival interview with producer Soy Hark, who we'll actually be talking about with a Criterion Collection release, I believe, called The Blade, in the future. And then we've got the Warrior archival interview with actor Wu Ma, as well as the image gallery and theatrical trailer. For the second film, we've got an audio commentary by film critic James Mudge. We've got Story of a Sequel interview with author and critic David West. Hong Kong Confidential Inside a Chinese Ghost Story 2 with author Grady Hendrix. And again, another archival interview with composer James Hong, as well as Voice from the Grave, archival interview with actor Loy Soy Ming, A Legend in Three Acts, archival interview with director Ching Soy-Tung, as well as, again, an image gallery and theatrical trailer. And finally, for the third film, again, an audio commentary by film critic James Mudge, third time lucky interview with author and critic David West, another Hong Kong Confidential, this time about the third film with author Grady Hendrix once more, as well as another archival interview with composer James Wong, and finally an archival interview with martial arts director Yuan Bun, and image gallery, B-roll footage, and theatrical trailer as well. So yeah, a hefty amount of extras there, and this is a really, really comprehensive release on the whole, quite frankly. And yeah, not only are the films for the most part really good, but this is a really good physical, you know, release itself with all the physical extras included. So yeah, still bought 3 discs with each film, plenty of extras on each disc, and a hardback book as well. So as well as the hard box itself to keep the steelbook nice and safe. So yeah, on the whole, a fantastic release from Imprint, and definitely one that is going to be considered for awards in the final part of this year. So yeah, but nonetheless, if you've seen any of the films in the Chinese Ghost Story trilogy before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.